we had this trip, I believe it was Skandashasti, and Dr. Pillai was there, and that Mohini, you were there, right? So a lot was happening in this session, and the channel, the Karpaswami channel, was asking some people to come up, and he was empowering them to be possessed. And I see him up, and I'm kind of back in the crowd, and I see him up there, and he's talking to Dr. Pillai, and they're talking in Tamil, so I don't know what they're saying. And all of a sudden I hear Lakshmi Narasimha, and I was like, oh no, don't call on me. Like nothing's happening. Nothing's going on. So I'm just still like hanging back in the crowd. And then other people are going up and getting, having experiences and being possessed, and beautiful, energies and messages coming through them. So I'm just enjoying that. And then I move aside to the different place in the crowd. I'm leaning against the table, and I start feeling this electricity come through my body. Now, mind you, I was like completely not planning, logically, nothing was occurring that I would want to or go up, there or be possessed in any way. So, but all of a sudden I start feeling this electricity come through my body, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I leaned against the table, and I held the table with my hands, and I started just feeling it all come through, all this electricity just through the body. And then all of a sudden my hands just started going like this, scratching the table. And as I'm scratching the table, I feel Narasimha more and more come into my body. And now I'm just like, oh my God. Like, so my logical mind and the possession is like kind of side by side. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just let it happen. This is the safest space you'll ever be in. So I feel this energy going through, and then all of a sudden, like, he just comes in, and he's like, last thing I remember is just being like this, like going like this. And then someone pulls me up into the circle with the reader. And that's when I kind of lost body consciousness in terms of like what was going on. Narasimha was definitely there. He said some things, and I don't even remember what he said right now. But one thing I do remember is that he was using his claws to remove karma from the people in the crowd. And so he's very much about the claws, right? So there's these significance and these symbolisms of this being that are very significant in how this energy gets transmitted to you, and also how it's used. So that's one of the things I'll talk more about in the sacred theater that Dr. Pillai has asked us to do. So that's the main kind of possession that happened. He came in another couple times in a lesser, kind of lesser volume of his power. And then more so what happens now is just like beautiful messages or things that he has to say. And this has all been triggered, this webinar has been triggered by Dr. Pillai gave a initiation into Narasimha on his birthday just a few days ago. And I've been hosting 7 days of 2 days of prep, and then, the rest of the days of kind of continuing to allow people to get to know him more, immerse more in him. And through those, the energies and the messages and the prayers that have been coming have been very spot on. In fact, someone mentioned yesterday, I did a prayer during the little mini fire lab, and someone was like, what you said was exactly what I needed. It's exactly what I want him to do and what I need. So he's just, he's so compassionate and he's so loving, but he's completely ferocious. And he is not your typical, benevolent god or goddess who is more calm, more perhaps pleasing to the eyes. He's drenched in blood. I keep looking over here because his picture is over here. One of the things we're going to do is go through this symbolism of all of this, in the sacred theater, so that you can fully get into what it means. And so he's not for everyone. If blood and kind of gore and destruction of that capacity is not something you're comfortable with, then he's just not your guy. And that's okay. There are plenty of gods and goddesses who are, much more nurturing and benevolent, and that's fine. But what makes him unique is that he will react to urgency. He's a fast acting divine being.